Speaking of pressure, you know, we was talking the other day, you know, and I was being honest, you know, and speaking of that pressure bubble, I can look back now and say, you know, there was a period in my life when that whole Pakistani plug run and stuff, you know, I'm out my mind. Living like Bobby and them back in the day, you know, without going into details, but you know, but a lot of it was the pressure. Now, my thought was, because as good as the run was, that sooner or later them people, you know, and this is what a lot of people don't understand, that when you live in that, the reality that any day them people might come and you looking at doing 20, that's reality.
True.
And me and you was just
that's the truth.
That's the truth. And to be honest, a lot of the life at that time, the escaping from that pressure, be that sense of impending doom that this shit going too good, and sooner or later that day gonna come, the doorbell
but
gonna
now,
ring.
are you ready to go to sleep or are you ready to tell?
Well,
yeah,
we was saying,
you ain't smart enough to say, okay, I'm gonna quit while I'm ahead. Because in every man's career, it's a time when you should quit, when you're ahead.
And most
take
do
that
not.
step. 99% of them don't. Keep going because the streets be calling.
Go unpack that for us.
When the streets is calling, motherfuckers calling your name, you that guy. You know, look at Demetrius, take him for instance. You see what I mean? How can you stop when the streets is calling?
Demetrius Holloway and Rick Carter, even though they were friends, were as different as two human beings could ever be. Demetrius Holloway, had he wanted to be, could have been a CEO of a major corporation. He never drank, he never smoked, he laughed at people who used drugs. He was smart as hell, and he was cunning in a good way and in a bad way. But he was cunning in a good way, like Bill Davidson probably was to Bill Guardian Industries. And he was a leader. See, a lot of these guys that they lead in the wrong way and they lead in the wrong business. But that personality trait, if they were in the military, they'd be a guy to become an officer. Demetrius Holloway would have been an officer in the military. If he went to a regular business and started working, he'd come up with a better idea about how to do certain things. He was a leader of other human beings, and he'd have wound up as a manager or a boss.
Even though with good, and we talked on that Demetrius thing, you know, and God rest his soul, and you know, I know that was your man. He did, man. I only through you one time came across him, but because this ain't just D, it's all of them. My father, your father, but we speaking about Demetrius. You beefed out with all these guys in the streets. The feds is all over you. You sitting on multiple millions of dollars. Now, we can sit back now and say, if it's land like that, why don't you take the bankroll and go head on someplace in this world and go live your life? Why you still want to run around the streets of Detroit? You got millions of dollars, but you want to run around the streets of Detroit shooting at people and people shooting at you, and the feds all on your neck instead of taking your bankroll and going to live your life.
Some motherfuckers get a rush out of that, he didn't get high. So obviously that was his rush. Gambling and beefing had to be his rush.
So you're speaking of the addictive nature of the lifestyle.
Man, they always said once you kill one motherfucker, you down to be killing motherfuckers from now on.
Well, you know, Demetrius Holloway, obviously a whale of a dealer. Demetrius had met Eddie's old man and my old man, went at Milan. Eddie old man took Demetrius under his wing, introduced him to all the right people. And it's kind of like, you know, just like King Midas, as I was told, everything that he touched turned to gold. You know, and he hit the streets and he just blew up. I mean, and didn't just blow up. I mean, he started moving thousands of bricks. So anyway, you know, it's Eddie's father who had turned him on. And Eddie called him up and said he needed some money to do this, that, or the other. And we were waiting on him. And Eddie calls him up, and Demetrius is like, don't worry about it, little homie. I'm in your back door. Come out the back door. And we go out to the alley of Geneva. I didn't know it at the time. It was Maserati Rick who was with Demetrius. Demetrius is driving. And he comes through the alley. He's got a shopping bag. Gives Eddie a shopping bag. It's like $82,000 in it. Keeps it moving. It's just like, he handed him $82,000 like he was handing him $82. And he's just like, tell your pops I came through. You know, stay up, bro. If you need anything, just give me a shout. And he kept going. And yeah, that was like Demetrius he was like at his peak then. He was really moving the crowd then. Generous guy, was very generous to his friends.
Okay, to switch lanes a little bit, and hopefully you don't mind going into sharing some of the stuff we be talking about when we ain't on camera.
No doubt.
You was talking about your father and the two men he left in charge of to kind of run things both times in cases when he was locked up. And the one similarity they both had.
Not getting high.
And those two people were?
Courtney Brown and Demetrius Holloway. Neither one have I ever seen get high, nor even take a drink. Both of them. Neither one got high.
Now, you think that was a coincidence?
I think he just felt they was responsible, and when a motherfucker ain't getting high, you might lean more toward them because you might feel they're a little more responsible. It don't always work out like that, but in this case it did. You know, he felt it. You know, then like I tell you, at the same time, you have to look at a lot of things when you choosing that motherfucker. He got to also be able to handle himself in the streets. If you're handling 100 keys and I keep leading you to that, and motherfuckers get to sucking you out the bag and not paying tickets, it's gonna lead you to hurting people. Because the money gets to adding up to be too much. You talking millions of dollars, you get him 100,000 credit, he don't come in. You get him another 40,000, he don't come in.
Okay, I gotta play street credit now. A street advocate, devil's advocate. Well, I'm gonna keep feeding y'all, giving out credit. You're running off with the bag.
Not everybody.
Right.
Not everybody. Not everybody. Well, let's put this as that. One motherfucker can hurt you, let's say Big Ed.
Okay.
One motherfucker can run off with enough to hurt you. Now, add up everything after that, and you really hurt.
Some subscribe to it, though. If I give it to you and you don't pay me,
If motherfucker run off with $500,000.
Why you give him the $500,000 from the beginning then?
Because he ran 4 other times and bought it back.
Well.
Now the 5th time, he played me like a sucker deck, run off and act like this, that happened, go out to California and get his own connect, come back. But never say, well, fuck it, I did all that, here go your money back, nigga, we ain't got the beef. Fuck that nigga, I ain't never paying you. And I got another connect. Fuck you, I ain't giving you shit. Now what you gonna say?
Demetrius was just a regular guy. Demetrius, I think, went to federal prison for like robbing trains or mailboxes, some very low level, but yet still federal crime. And again, while he was locked up, he met Eddie's father, and Eddie's father just thought the boy, which he would prove to be prophetic and true, that he was a smart kid and that he was just misdirected, and if he ever knew how the real big picture worked, this kid could be good on the streets. And Eddie's father vouched for him, schooled him, gave him some mentorship, and he turned him on to the plug. And again, and Demetrius becomes the biggest thing in the city for, you know, from the mid 80s to the late 80s when he gets killed. And, you know, he looked out for Eddie swell. He looked out for Eddie swell. And, you know, somebody should really do a project on him. There's been projects done on him, but those people didn't really know the inside story. And it was just crazy because, you know, that was that whole best friends era, and unfortunately people's egos, and there was so much money floating around and the competition. But I didn't know Maserati, and again, the only time I really came in contact with Demetrius, my old man knew Demetrius because they did time together. But when he came and dropped off that money to Eddie in Highland Park was the only time that our paths actually directly crossed. And later I would hear about this guy, Maserati Rick, that worked for Demetrius, or that was, you know, hustling with Demetrius. But it was a different clique. I had some family that was dealing with another guy, Big Ed Hansen. He also was running with Demetrius. But that was a whole little East Side thing, and those guys were making fortunes. They were, you know, everybody got beefed out with everybody. So I had a front row seat to that show, but I wasn't directly participating in that, in that little Detroit drama at the time. Later I would come to find out again, you know, actually I was, but didn't know it because again, I had some family that was dealing with Big Ed Hansen, who was dealing with Maserati and Demetrius. You know, obviously Demetrius was looking out for Eddie Jr. And he was feeding a bunch of people who very, very close to us.
Demetrius loved to gamble, if you really know him, for those of you who really knew him. Demetrius loved to gamble. Demetrius would go to Las Vegas all the time and gamble. Love it. At his funeral, the people from Las Vegas, in fact, came to his funeral. Demetrius would go to Las Vegas, he'd bet $50,000 that he could throw 11 on the first roll. And he was good at it. Huckabuck sit there and watched him pass for over $2 million. Then he turned around and gave the dice to a broad. She passed for another $1 million, and he gave her $150,000. So that night, Demetrius had damn near won $3 million that night and banked it there at the bank in Las Vegas. So anyway, moving right on along. You know when you gambling big like that, people are watching. They watching the table, they watching these big bets, they watching you hit these licks. So it was some people down there that was from Texas. Huckabuck used to live in Texas, down in Houston, when he left Detroit in the late 70s and spent the 80s to the early 90s in Texas. So Huckabuck had some high-powered, money-getting friends down there. And one of his money-getting friends, they were Latino, because Huck used to fake like he was Latino. They was getting a lot of bricks. So Demetrius ran into them in Las Vegas. So what happened was Demetrius had finished gambling, banked the money, and started having a drink. And this particular broad, which they paid, which was fine, slid up on Demetrius and put some Visine in his drink. And the Visine knocked him out. So when Demetrius, after he feel he's gotten dizzy, he don't know who hit him with it, but he felt it coming. So he's staggering, making his way up to his hotel room in Las Vegas. He's wearing a bunch of jewelry. Demetrius has some very sweet pieces. So when he makes his way up to the room, they got somebody already up there waiting on him to open the door and escort him on in. So when Demetrius wake up, he's butt-ass naked, all his money gone that he had in his pockets, not the money that he had just won because he banked that, but money that he had in the room, all that money was gone, and his jewelry. All that was gone, and he was butt naked, laid out on the bed. When he come to, he butt-ass naked. So Demetrius knew these particular people was from Texas, but some other people Demetrius knew them and knew they was in Miami at this time. So Demetrius grabbed the best friends, which was his team at that time, and they grabbed a motherfucking black van with the black tinted windows and went to Miami. And Demetrius went and caught the motherfucker who had the bitches give him the knockout drug, and they cleaned him for his jewelry and shit. So when Demetrius then whipped up on him van, jumped up on him and put him in the van, and they finna close him out, the first thing the nigga started hollering, wait, I know Huckabuck. Do you know Huckabuck? Do you know Huckabuck? So Demetrius know Huckabuck. Huckabuck is well known in the city of Detroit. So Demetrius said, yeah, I know Huckabuck. What about it? He said, look, man, if you call Huckabuck out here, Huckabuck will stand for me. I will go get everything I took from you, and I will bring it back to you. Please don't kill me. Demetrius looked at this motherfucker and said, okay, I'm going to do just that. They sent the money to Western Union. Huckabuck bought the ticket, came right out there to Miami. Went, stood for my man. Huckabuck, Demetrius explained to Huckabuck before my man left, Huck, you my man, you from Detroit, but if he don't come back, I'm gonna have to put him in you, because you're standing for him. Huck said, Demetrius, I know his fam. I know them personally for years. He coming back, man. I guarantee you he bringing all your shit back. 45 minutes later, that boy bought all of Demetrius' shit back, money, jewelry, everything, and said, hey man, please, let's, no beef, please, I apologize. I truly apologize, please, no beef. Demetrius said, okay, no beef. Come to find out later on, Huckabuck arranged for him to get a package from his people as a makeup. So Demetrius started getting keys from them in Texas. He got about 2 or 3 packages from them, and the cane was good as a makeup for him not killing whoever he was to the big man. And that's how that story went.
Eddie hook up Demetrius with the Columbians?
That I do believe to be the truth. The plug, you know, he definitely vouched for him, and it was told to me the connection that allowed him to really take over the town. He got that plug through Eddie. I mean, Demetrius didn't come from that world. He didn't know any of those people, definitely at that level. So it would take somebody of Eddie Jackson's stature to kind of vouch for a guy with no past reputation to say, this guy represents me, give him the bag. And he did, and they did give him the bag, and Demetrius handled it right. And again, you know, he became the biggest thing in this. That is what I've been told by very reliable sources, that the arrangement was basically he got 1,000 keys at a time, and he had to pay for 660 of them. So that means 340 were on the house. They were giving him 1,000 bricks. He has his ticket is for 640 of the bricks. The other, 360 are his. So, I mean, do the math there.
Do you know what his price was?
No, but he had to be getting them for 11,000. I mean, he was letting them go for 13, between 13 and 15, depending on who you were. He had to make his money on each. So, and again, I know that, you know, in New York and then with Mr. Q, big fellas were all in between like that 11 and 13,000 range at that point.
Okay.
But when you're getting 1,000 at a time, I mean, I can't speak with authority on that, but if you could get 13.5 and you're getting 20 at a time, what's your price if you're getting 1,000 at a time? You got to figure he's somewhere around 11, 11.5, 10.
No, Rick was the opposite. Rick was cheap and petty. I mean, he was all right to deal with, but he wasn't all right to deal. He was a pain in the ass, is what he was. And he liked to flaunt stuff, you know, and walk around like he was a big shot, which in a sense he was, I guess. But it was apples and oranges, him and Demetrius. Anybody will tell you that. Anybody in the streets will tell you that.
But they knew each other from childhood.
Oh yeah, they grew up together. I'm saying they were close. I mean, I don't know if they were close because I wasn't with them, you know, away from.
But they at least knew each other.
Oh no, yeah, they were. It was. I used to say to Meech all the time, Jesus Christ, did you guys live down the same street? What'd you have, a different kind of water in your house than Rick?
What street? Do you know what street those guys were?
I think they lived in the Brewster Projects. I think Demetrius came up in the Brewster Project. That's what I think. I don't know. His mother worked for the post office.
What cases did you do for Demetrius?
Every case he got from the day Demetrius Holloway walked in my office in 85. He died in 90, probably 85. He walked in, I was still in the Lafayette building. He said he had a Fed case, felon in possession. He had just gotten out on bond. And he had just got out of jail, out of prison, federal prison.
Yeah, he got out in 85.
And he had just got out on bond. And he came in and he said, look, I'm going to try this case. I've got a defense, which he did. I don't have any money, hardly. You know, I've got, some $500, whatever it was he had. But my word's good. He says, you tell me the fee. It'll take me some time, but I'll pay the fee. And he was, at the time, literally had just gotten out of jail on federal parole. And there was something about the guy, I can't remember if it was drugs or breaking into boxcars. He used to, I can't remember. I don't think it was drugs. I'm almost positive it wasn't drugs.
So he got, in 85 when he got out, he was not at that point a drug kingpin.
He was nobody. I'm telling you, he didn't have anything. He had $1,000 or $500. And there was something about the guy I thought he was telling the truth. And it was a tribal case, and I'm a sucker for trials. And I said, okay, we got a deal. And of course, this jackass examining me today would say, and you didn't have a fee agreement? I said, yeah, we had a fee agreement. We shook hands. And we tried the case, and he was found not guilty, Judge Woods. And he did exactly what he said he would do. He brought in, and then he paid the fee. And then as time went on, he only had, he had a little misdemeanor case, which was just literally cussing in front of kids, so I wouldn't even call that a case. That's just a ticket. He had one other drug case where the Detroit police planted some drugs on him. There was I proved it. The jury was out 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
Where, you remember where that was at?
Yeah, it was in, where the heck was he driving? It was near downtown. I think he was coming from his mother's. You know, I can't remember. We had the map too, because we used the map to show how full of shit they were. We had the map. We had so much evidence. It was unbelievable. And later on, I found out it was true that they planted it. Well, the facts were pretty obvious. This was, by this time, he's Demetrius Holloway Whale. And they claim he's driving down the road. I think it was down by the Fox. They followed him a ways, maybe on Bagley. I think, yeah, he was coming from the projects and was somewhere around over there. and they claimed he had like an 8-ball on him. Now, this is a guy who doesn't use drugs, which I know for sure. He's a whale. What whale is driving around with it? I mean, it might have been heroin. 12 dime bags of heroin or something like that. It was some ridiculous. Now, of course, you can't really defend. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this guy is a whale. He has kilos. But we did get out that they knew, this was still when there was Recorder's Court too, so you had a more streetwise jury. They knew he was somebody to the police because that was part of the defense. It had to be. Because when people want to use the defense, the police planted it. The first question anybody asks, including me, why? Well, there was a why. This was Demetrius Holloway. And that jury, they were out 10 minutes, literally, and let him go. That's the only other case. They were working on a federal case when he got killed.
What did you think when he got?
Were you shocked?
Okay.
Other than
When you heard he was killed at the Broadway, what did you?
I'll never forget where I was at the gas station. This is before cell phones. And I got a message from Joe Swickert, who still writes for the Free Press, and he was covering the courts at that time. And I called back from the payphone. This was how long ago it was. And he tells me that he got killed at the Broadway. And I knew he went to the Broadway all the time. I obviously saw the killers. What did I think? I thought within 2 hours, certainly by the next day, I knew who did it and why, but I'm not going to say. Oh, well, if you say so, yeah.
Well, that's who.
But nobody knew. They chased their tails on that case for what, 15 years?
Yeah, they didn't.
Everybody in the street knew who did it, and everybody knew who ordered it, and everybody knew why it happened.
Who ordered it?
I'm not talking on that. They know, though. They know. They know for sure.
I mean, is it somebody that's around? Or?
He's alive, but they know.
Oh, Ed, Big Ed or something.
No. It had nothing to do with him.
Did you have ever cross paths with Big Ed?
Never once. He and Demetrius, at least anecdotally, were at war all the time.
And Maserati.
Well, Rick was dead. Yeah, because Ed sent the guy to kill him supposedly, right, in a hospital.
What case did you do for Maserati?
Pistol case outside the skating rink over there on the east side, because he was the east side guy.
Didn't you say he gave you a leather jacket or something?
Yeah, a coat, because he owed me money. I won the case, and that's why I say he was cheap. It was a pistol case. He probably owed like $3,000 or something like that, and the damn guy would not pay. And it was always, I'll see you next week. So I typed up a motion to withdraw. He had another case pending, and I typed up a motion to withdraw. And I called the guy in that was from the east side. I said, take this thing. I wasn't filing it, but I said, tape this thing to the walls and the windows, like at the bars, everywhere on the east side, so people can see what a cheapskate Rick is. And the guy went out, and about 2 days later, man, what are you doing? I said, well, shit, you won't come in and bring me the money? And so he brought me a leather coat instead, which was fine. But
Paid you the leather coat.
he might have brought the money and a coat. Maybe that's what he did. I can't remember. It was a long time ago. But I gave the motion. The guy said, go hang this up on the east side somewhere. We'll see. I'll get his attention.
Refused to release the identity of the man found shot at the Broadway clothing store. But friends and relatives of Demetrius Holloway gathered quickly after word of the shooting spread through the city.
They come running out and it was raining out. And I said, where's the key? Where's the key? I said, well, hold on a second, sir. I'll get you the key. No, I want the key right now.
Exactly. But I tell you why it played out like that. It wasn't because he owed anybody. It was because motherfuckers owed him. You keep missing the point. That shit adds up. One motherfucker alone is $500,000. Now count other motherfuckers. The fireman bought a brand new Corvette with your shit told you, fuck you, and sit right there in your goddamn money and car. You just gonna, them motherfuckers just gonna fuck you and tell you anything. If they're smart enough to talk. So now once you get to that way, they ain't gonna even talk out. They're just gonna slap you like a bitch and take it. Now we ain't even gotta ask you for it no more and something you not pay you. We just gonna catch you and take it from you. For real?
No. I'm just saying.
You don't remember when a motherfucker told my man, I'm gonna fuck your woman and you? You don't remember that shit?
I mean, you know what our people did to him when they told him that.
So that's what I'm trying to tell you. Did he have to do that?
He did.
No, did he have to do that? That wasn't over no money. He didn't owe him a quarter.
No.
Did he have to do that?
The man threatened his family and...
No, a motherfucker took the $500,000. Nah, he said he was gonna fuck you and your woman. Nah, you gonna defend your goddamn $500,000 just as well as you gonna defend you and your woman's ass. Now let's get real. I mean, that's serious. It's just as serious as a motherfucker running off with $500,000. It's just as serious. I can't say a motherfucker say, I'm gonna fuck you and your woman. Bro, that's just as serious as a nigga running off with my money. Cause he really letting me know what he think of me. I'm a real bitch. So now, his next step...
Well, the commonality, well, the one that ran off with the $500,000 is still alive, but the one who talked that slick shit to our people, they are arresting with the... they're arresting us. They're pushing up daisies now.
You see, that's what I'm saying. That's how the game goes. It turned out, yes, he got. But a whole lot of motherfuckers went with him. That's one motherfucker thing he could say. He did not go by himself. God damn it, he put a lot of company right down there with him. So he joined a whole lot of motherfuckers he put down there. So for his one life, goddamn, let's say 40-1. His odds wasn't bad. If we was in a war in wartime, goddamn it, 40-1, you did pretty goddamn good.
If you could go back in time, would you have suggested? Now, of course, we didn't know when
you can't do that. The king makes those decisions.
They said, look, man, you're ahead of the game. In this game, you're not going to beat the feds and keep ducking these niggas trying to kill you. It's time to pack it up and go.
The king makes those decisions.
It was just time to really tell a great untold Detroit story because it kind of covers Detroit at its zenith.
Very interesting story.
We decided that we were going to make a movie.
All right, Rich Rossi with you with Motown Mafia. I'm with Courtney.
Lewis Stevens,
Courtney Brown.
Courtney Brown Jr.
And Alan Al Prophet Bradley.
And this is an entrepreneurial, inspirational story too, because again, you know, I'm a real estate retail guy. You know, that's what my skill set is. But I'm a businessman, so I was like, you know, we're gonna do it. You know, sometimes when you got a dream, you won't have all the answers on how you're gonna do what you're gonna do.
What made this one unique was not so much the crime, but the intertwining with Detroit's history and the Motown era and kind of the economic decline of Detroit. And it's really the story of a family. And from some perspectives, it's has a happy ending, like you said. For others, it didn't have a happy ending.
Right.